What's up guys, Winner Kills here, and welcome to a brand new deck profile. Today I'm going to bring you guys an update to my Atlantean Mermail Deepsea deck. I know it's been like almost, I want to say like 6 months since I've done a Mermail update, which seems kind of crazy because I used to update this deck probably like every 3 or 4 weeks. Probably a few years ago, but I haven't really been playing this deck that much. I've been playing other decks like Earth Machine mainly, as you guys are well aware. I've also been playing Photon Galaxy in preparation for that one deck 1 month episode that I swear is going to happen in just a few weeks. And this deck will probably follow the Photon Galaxy one deck 1 month. So I kind of wanted to get an updated profile for you guys to go off of, so you don't have to go off the one that I made back in, I think, January. So just wanted to drop a quick update. There really hasn't been a total 180 in the build and how it plays in terms of, like play style and engines that I'm running. Still on the Deepsea engine. I still really like it, still really enjoy it, and I think it helps the deck quite a bit in terms of sealing and consistency. And speaking of consistency, I've made a few changes, regarding consistency cards based on, that test hand video that I uploaded a few weeks ago that you guys should go check out. But yeah, a few slight changes, and really excited to share it with you guys. And also, before we get into the profile, of course, if you guys are interested in picking up amazing playmat sleeves, deck boxes, dice, backpacks, binders, etc., TCG accessories, check out Imperium Duelist at the link below. They sell all sorts of amazing things. You can get all for 10% off using my discount code WINNERKILLS10 off at checkout, and you support the channel in the process. And of course, if you guys are shopping on TCG Player, please do not forget to use the affiliate link I have to their site. It's found in the description of all my videos. If you guys shop and check out using that link, a small bit of the revenue from your purchase will go right back in the channel and helps out a ton. And if you want early videos and exclusive members only content, consider becoming a member of the channel today. So you guys know how we do these. We're going to do a quick deck profile, and then we'll go ahead and explain all my card choices after that. Now this part of the video, I'm going to go through and explain all my card choices in as much detail as I can without taking forever. So the first 3 cards we're going to look at, as always with any Mermail deck profile on this channel, is none other than Mermail Abyss Teus, who soon will be searchable on our turn 1 thanks to the new trap card coming out in October, I believe, called Ice Barrier. I did a discussion video talking all about all the new water support cards, so go check that video out here if you haven't already. But yeah, 3 Teus, takes only 1 discard, searches a Mermail. This card is a part of a lot of incredible 2-card combos paired with it in Dragoon. So this is just a fantastic card, and the thing that makes it again so good is the fact that it only takes 1 water monster to discard in order to summon it. Much like a lot of the bigger Mermail monsters, they require water monsters to be discarded as part of cost of their summoning condition. And this guy, when he is summoned, you get to add a level 4 lower Mermail monster from the deck to the hand. So he provides a discard outlet for a lot of our Atlantean monsters, and also searches us cards in the process, and gets a nice body on board in the form of a level 7 for rank 7 plays. Then next up, only 1 Mermail Abyss Megalo, the OG from way back in Abyss Rising. I only like playing 1 of this guy because I don't really like opening it per se, because it's a hefty cost considered when compared to Teus, because this does take 2 water monsters to discard to be able to summon. And when it is summoned, you can add an Abyss spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And it also has another effect where you can actually tribute an attack position water monster, and this card can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. So this card is primarily known as like the OTK machine, because you can just tribute a water monster, it attacks twice, and if you grab the Abyss Scaled Mizuchi with it, it'll boost it up by 800 attack, going up to 32, so that's attacking twice at 32, 6,400 damage from just 1 easily summonable card. But again, this is something that you'll probably search out mid-combo as an extender. It can act as a starter, but only if you have the right cards to discard for it. So it's a very weak starter. I would say it's more so of an additional extender, and definitely only warranted at 1, unless you might want to play like a going second build and maybe add in that second copy of Megalo, just to be able to trigger more Atlanteans like Marksman and Heavy Infantry when you're trying to break boards. And then another Mermail here, Abyss Pike. Level 4, normal summonable Mermail. When this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can discard a water monster to the graveyard to add a level 3 water monster from your deck to your hand. So this card plays a very important role in the deck because this is searchable off of Bisteus, the first card we showed. It does provide a discard outlet for your Atlanteans, but it can search a card called Deepsea Minstrel, which is incredible because that card does so much for the deck. And it being a level 4 is actually really important because, as you saw in the extra deck, we are playing Bahamut Shark and Abyss Dweller, which are 2 extremely powerful rank 4 monsters. And obviously this being a card that can discard, for example, something like Prince, can revive something like Dragoons from the grave, essentially setting up a 1.5 card rank 4, which is really strong. And actually one of the combo lines that I go over in the Mermail guide that I made early this year shows you how Pike is very, very much needed for an anti-Nibiru combo. So you definitely want to play the Pike. And then Gund is another card that you can either search off of Teus, or you can also search off of Pike if you've searched Pike off Teus. So Teus can grab Pike, and then Pike can grab Gund. It's all this kind of like closed circuit searching. All these cards can grab each other, especially if you do it in the sequence that you normally do it in, which is, you know, Teus would grab Pike, Pike would grab Gund, etc., etc. Don't always go for Pike off of Teus. Most of the time you'll probably go for the Gund, but you know, going for Pike will come up, and that's why I would recommend playing one. But Gund, same thing. You know, if it is discarded to the grave, not by the effect of a water monster, if it's just discarded, period, you can special summon a Mermail from the grave, except itself, and it is a hard once per turn. So consider this card like a Monster Reborn for Mermail monsters. If it is discarded to the grave, not sent, so you can't trigger it off of 1-for-1, it has to be specifically discarded. I know this is an Italian, but if you pull up an English copy, it'll say it has to be discarded. So even if you use it off of Twin Twister, you know, you can still trigger its effect to revive a you know, a Megalo from the grave, or a Teus, a Lacia, a Gaios, whatever it may be. Then we have 3 Neptibus the Atlantean Prince, each in a different language: French, Italian, and German. For those max rarity Mermail lovers out there. But this card really is like the heart and soul of the deck. Ever since this card was printed, it has helped this deck out so much. Basically, while it's on the field, you can send an Atlantean monster from your deck to the grave to add one from your deck to your hand. And then if it is sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster's effect, you can special summon, well, not you can, you special summon an Atlantean from your grave except itself. It is a mandatory effect, much like a lot of the other Atlantean cards that we'll see after this. But this is a great starter because it can allow you to send Dragoons, to add Dragoons and Megalo, and then paired with that, you know, one other water, you've pretty much fully started your engine. You're getting your Dragoons going, you're adding cards to your hand to be able to discard again and get more searches and get more bodies on field. And not to mention, it has a revival effect, much like Gund. Obviously, we're not playing 3 Gund because it's not a starter like Prince is, but Prince can act as a starter and an extender, which is great. And of course, we can summon this out off of the Deepsea Diva. So definitely want to play 3 Prince, and then 3 absolutely gorgeous Atlantean Dragoons. This card is crazy, even by today's standard. This card is absolutely something else. Not a once per turn, by the way. Search of a Sea Serpent monster if it is sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster's effect. And not to mention, it can also make it so all level 3 or lower Sea Serpent type monsters you control can attack your opponent directly. So that's never really going to come up. I can't even think of the last time that effect came up for me. But just remember that's a part of the card text, because it could possibly steal you a game by being able to attack directly. Who knows? Especially with the new time rules and everything. New, I guess, even though they're several years old. But, you know, not once per turn searching of Sea Serpents, and, you know, lo and behold, a lot of the great cards in this deck and that it has to work with are Sea Serpent monsters. You know, Megalo, Deepsea Diva, Prince, Moulin Glacia, you name it. this card can search it, which is great. Can't search Teus, but we already have an answer to that. And then the other two Atlanteans I'm playing are just one marksman and one infantry. This version is much more of a going first combo oriented strategy. So playing multiple marksmen and multiple heavy infantry aren't really warranted. I only want to play one of each because I want to search them out when I directly need them for spot removal. When Marksman is sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster's effects, he can target a set card the opponent controls and destroy it. And Infantry does the same thing, but instead of a set card, it is a face-up card the opponent controls. And keep in mind, these are mandatory effects. So per se, even if you're going to use Megalo on your turn 1 and you're discarding Dragoons and Infantry, you can still activate Infantry as Chainlink 2, Dragoons Chainlink 1, and Megalo Chainlink 3. Just because this card has to activate, even if it doesn't have a target to pop. I know it sounds weird, it's just how these mandatory cards are. But Infantry does something else, same thing with Marksman. Infantry says during your main phase, you can normal summon one level 4 or lower Sea Serpent type monster in addition to your normal summon set. So it can kind of act as like a Brilliant Fusion or Seraphinite, if you will, to get a Diva out on board, or a Prince, or a Dragoons, whatever you need. And Marksman, it says when it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Atlantean Sea Serpent type monster from your deck except itself. So that can obviously be another way to get to Prince. That effect I've actually used several times over my Mermail career to get a Prince out of the deck when I really didn't have any other way to get to it. So these are just nice utility cards, that to be able to search out for spot removal and even extension too. So they're just very, very resourceful cards, and I would highly recommend playing at least one of each. I think the only reason I would play more is if I was playing a going second build. And then next up, who could forget, the first card in the Deepsea engine that I'm playing is Deepsea Minstrel. This is a card that for the longest time I really didn't like that much in the deck, but I've turned around on it quite a bit ever since I started running it at 3 in the deck. And the main reason is obviously just for hand trap protection. Hand knowledge is great, but being able to protect from hand traps is amazing, because I find that the deck is going to always try to make the same board because it's pretty much good in all scenarios. You have Omni negates, spell trap negates, and removal in the form of like infantry pops off of a Lacey or a Crocosaur. So you're pretty much always going to be making the same board. Yes, you can tailor it to what their hand may be, but just getting rid of that Ash, getting rid of that Nibiru is so huge, especially since, the rogue deck that this deck is, it does lose very hard to certain hand traps, and this is like Called by the Grave, but for Mermails, essentially, because of how it's themed. It says you can discard this card at 1 water monster's cost, look at your opponent's hand, and banish 1 card from their hand face up until the end phase. If this card is special summoned, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, then target a level 4 or lower water monster in your graveyard except itself, place it on the top or bottom of the deck. So that second effect actually does come up quite a bit. That's one thing I think that's very unique about my deck list, is that I actually try to take advantage of Minstrel's secondary effect, because it's actually not that bad. It can be very, very good, especially if you pair it with a Deepsea field spell, so you can stack the top of your deck to ensure you get another effect of something like Dragoons or Prince. Then I play 1 Deepsea Artisan because I am playing the Deepsea Synchro, as you saw. So this is a very good target to be able to summon off of it, specifically because it's a level 1. So we can just Synchro climb into a Adamancipator Risen Dragite, which will not be able to be targeted by monster effects if we use Prima Donna for its summon. It says if this card is added from the deck or graveyard to your hand by a card effect, or by an effect of a water monster, you can reveal this card, look at your opponent's hand. If this card is special summoned, you can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, then target 1 level 4 or lower water monster in your graveyard except itself, special summon it, but negate its effect. So that second effect is the main reason why I play it. If it is special summoned, you get to basically reborn something from grave. So it can make like your late game 1-for-1s a little bit better than going for Prince if you've exhausted all your Prince targets, which can be very easily done. But it's also, again, a good target to summon off of your Prima Donna to summon extra cards in the grave to be able to Xyz with, Synchro with, or Link with. Then next up, we have another engine here, and that is the Frog engine, for me consisting of the 3 swap and the 1 Ronin Totem. This is a fantastic engine, and speaking of Deepsea Prima Donna, this is a card I like to summon off of it quite consistently, especially if I mill like a Ronin or a swap off of my Minstrel or Artisan. This is something I'll go to summon off of that. Just because, getting access to Totally Awesome is pretty good, I hear. And also, it can act as a discard outlet for Gund, which is kind of nice, or discarding something like Fishborg Launcher to use an extender. I find right now, it's just like the best extender, like water engine that you can run in here. Like, that doesn't brick a whole lot, because just opening swap with any water is like a Totally Awesome, which is great. Or if you just open, swap and Ronin together, it's basically just a Totally Awesome. And a lot of times it means you can get Toad on the field before your 5th summon, or before you even normal summon, which is huge because it can protect your normal summons like Prince and Diva, and keep you safe from Nibiru, of course. And then next up, we have 2 tuners, 1 Lapis Dragon and 1 Fishborg Launcher. Obviously, these are Helka Firebrax targets. This card is great in the grave, though, because it can special summon itself out of the grave if all of the monsters in your grave are water. And it says you have to banish it when it leaves the field after that. And cannot be used as single material for a monster other than a water. And then Lapis Dragon, if it's added from our deck to our hand, we can special summon it. And if it's added from our graveyard to our hand by a card effect, we can reveal it and special summon it, but banish when it leaves the field. So nice tuner extenders to play in the deck that are both water. They work very, very, very well. And then I wanted to play some other water-themed sort of removal. Not really hand traps, I guess you could consider it a hand trap, but just removal that we can discard for cards like Pike, Teus, Megalo, etc. if we need to, or even Minstrel or Swap Frog. Alright, if we're going first and these cards have no purpose, they can just at least act as discard fodder because they are water monsters. And going second, they offer some of the best removal in the game, which is Tributing, which a lot of cards are not protected from. And yeah, that's it for the monsters, so we'll go into the spells. And first and foremost, we have 3 Pot of Prosperity. This card was just a no-brainer to me because there really is no better consistency card to run in this deck at the moment, at least the way I'm playing it. Extravagance doesn't make any sense, especially when this card exists, and Desires doesn't really cut it either. Because we don't want to banish all of our Dragoons, all of our Divas, all of our Teuses, etc. So there's some very important cards in the deck that we'd rather not lose if we can help it. And sparing 3 cards in the extra deck of our choosing is a very, very easy thing to do. So just being able to dig 3 cards deep for an extender or a starter, or being able to find the field spell more consistently, which was a problem in the past. This card essentially solves that, and it's just a great card all around. Now, a budget option for this could possibly be more hand traps. You could play Pot of Avarice like I was playing prior. You play Upstart Goblin, etc., etc. It's really just up to the player. And then next up, speaking of the field spell, 3 copies of the field spell. Obviously, a little easier to find now with Prosperity in the deck, which is nice. But a lot of people don't really like this card. I like it quite a bit, and again, I think this is something that's completely unique to my build. But this card does quite a few things, and I'll read off what it does. It says this card's name is always treated as Umi. When this card is activated, you can place 1 water monster from your deck on top of your deck. Then, once per turn, you can target 1 water monster you control, increase its level by 1 or 2 until the end of this turn, even if this card leaves the field. And then its last effect says once per turn during your main phase, if you special summon a water synchro monster, you can look at your opponent's hand, and if you do, banish 1 card from it face up until the end phase. So this is how you can basically combo off with the second effect of Deepsea Minstrel, is by using this card first to stack a water monster if you're choosing to the top, mill it off the top like a Dragoons, get its effect, and continue to combo from there. Or one thing I like to do is stack a Prince, mill the Prince, revive your Dragoons, and then synchro with the Minstrel and the Dragoons for a Prima Donna, and then trigger the other effect of Megalanica to rip another card out of the opponent's hand. And the level manipulation too is really, really nice to be able to access Xyz monsters and other synchros that we normally wouldn't be able to without it. Then I played 2 Deepsea Aria. When I cut the Avarices and Upstart, when I was putting the Prosperities in, I had a few extra slots. So I was like, why not just throw Deepsea Aria back into the mix to be able to more frequently search out cards like Diva and Prince, so on and so forth. And like I said, you know, a lot of people aren't a fan of this card. A lot of people don't have the money to pick up Prosperity. So these are 6 cards that you could easily cut for more hand traps if you want to, because I realize my build isn't very hand trap heavy, but I'm prioritizing over just seeing combo pieces in general and consistency over trying to see hand traps at the moment, because the way this deck is and its rogue status, I don't really think it can afford to play too many hand traps because it will cause inconsistencies. At least that's just my personal opinion. And then the last 3 spells: Terraforming to search our field spell, 1 for 1 to summon Prince, or I guess you could summon the Fishborg Launcher or Deepsea Artisan. And then Mizuchi, the tried and true Abyss Scale, ever since kind of like the Abyss Sphere bit the dust. People stopped playing that. This card has been tried and true ever since. Equip only to Mermail, so gains 800 attack, and when a spell effect that was activated on your opponent's side of the field resolves, negate that effect, then send this card to the graveyard. So it is worded a little bit weirdly, but it's worded weirdly for a very, very good reason, because it can negate cards like Dark Ruler No More. It can negate cards like Super Poly, Forbidden Droplet, you name it. Any cards that say that their effects cannot be responded to, this card can negate, because it's not responding to the effect, it's responding to the resolution of that effect, which is insane. So this card can negate a Super Poly, which is huge, because your board's going to get wrecked by droplets and Super Polys and Dark Rulers and who knows what else, and Mizuchi's just going to say no to all of that. So definitely want to play the Mizuchi in the deck. And then the extra deck, we have 2 Toads. This is something that I was actually playing one of prior, but I realized, you know, it's probably going to be very, very easy to make 2 of these in some boards. Obviously going to a Bahamut Shark first, and then you know, if you have the swap engine in that hand, you know, the potential is there to make a second swap, or totally awesome. So I figured, why not go ahead and add a second one to the extra deck, especially now that it's at 3. Although you definitely don't need to play 2. This is definitely like a flex spot, so if you don't want to play 2 Toad, you could easily go ahead and, you know, play something else. And there are 2 rank 4s, 1 Dweller and 1 Squallow Bahamut. Just 2 of the best, I think, rank 4s you can play in the deck. They are water, so if Dragoons is detached from them, you will get the effect of Dragoons to be able to search another Sea Serpent, because it is still being sent to the grave to activate a water monster's effect. And then our last Xyz monster is 1 Mermail Abyss Gaios, a Big Daddy Gaios. Basically like a walking skill drain, and it also prevents monsters from being able to attack level 5 or higher. Monsters cannot attack while it has Xyz material. So it's a very floodgatey card. It's a very nice card to be able to put out onto the board to be able to try to slow the pace of the game and take control of it. Then we have our synchros here. We have 1 Formula Synchron. This is my main summon target off of Halqifibrax. That's really about it. I'm not summoning this during my main combo. So yeah, summon it, get a draw, and then use it to synchro climb with like Dragite, usually into Satellite Warrior. Then Deepsea Prima Donna. Usually go into this card quite a bit, especially if I have access to bring back Minstrel off Anemone. This card has quite a few good effects. The first one being that if it is use a synchro material for a synchro monster, that synchro monster cannot be targeted by a monster by monster effects, which is great. Then it says you can target one of your opponent's banished cards, add to your hand, or special summon a level 4 lower water monster from your deck, and if you do, add that target to their hand. So they get one of those cards back, but it doesn't always have to be a card that is going to negatively affect you during your turn. It'd just be a blank card that really wasn't, you know, doing anything, whether it was in their hand or not. And give it back to get a really powerful extension effect. Summon any level 4 lower water from the deck. It's a really awesome effect for this, and I think a lot of people kind of miss out on that. And then the second effect, if it's sent to the grave, target a banished card, shuffle it into the deck, so you can put back those banished cards that Minstrel is hitting or Megalanica is hitting. And importantly, this card is also a tuner, so if you're not synchroning with it for Dragite, you can link it off for something like Hulk, and then chain block your Hulk with that secondary effect, which is really good. Then Dragite, because Dragite is Dragite, Spell and Trap Negation is great, and you know, we can make it very, very easily with Megalo, Fishborg Launcher, or Prima Donna and the Artisan. Then Ravenous Crocodragon, Archethus. This card we can make with quite a few non-tuner monsters, so that'll allow us to draw quite a few cards off of its first effect. And then obviously its second effect, the quick effect, where we can discard 2 cards to target a card in the field and destroy it, comes up quite a bit, especially when we can, you know, take into the fact that we can discard cards like Marksman or Infantry during the opponent's turn to, instead of just pop 1, pop 2 or even 3 cards with this. And speaking of popping cards, 1 Satellite Warrior, because if you have Hulk up with the Dragite, you can, you know, tag the Hulk into the formula, as I said, and then synchro right up into this to pop 2 or even 3 cards, and sometimes that just outright ends the opponent's turn. Or one of my favorite things to do with it is like end phase Hulk, or before they leave main phase, using formula to synchro a Dragite and blow up 2 to 3 set back row, and that's usually just game. Then we have 2 Marincess Coral Anemone. You know, target any water monster with 1,500 or less attack in your grave and revive it. That's huge. You get locked into only summoning waters for the rest of the turn, but, you know, who really cares? You already have seen how much of the extra deck is water, and all the main deck is all water monsters, so it's ever hardly a restriction for this deck. And I just find this still to be one of the best extra deck extenders that we have. Mistar Boy. The only reason I'm playing Mistar Boy is to bridge the gap between Anemone and Alacia, because sometimes you want to get into Alacia, but you can't while Anemone's on the board, and the only way you can do that is by going through Mistar Boy first, since it is an Aqua monster and Anemone is a Cybers. So yeah, 1 Alacia because I only find that 1 ever comes up, and then 1 Krishan Hulk, obviously, to summon out our tuners from the deck like Diva, Artisan, or not Artisan, the Minstrel, or you could summon out the Fishborg Launcher to obviously make more synchro plays. And another thing I want to mention too is that I will be covering this deck in a series of 1 deck 1 month very, very soon, so stay on the lookout for that. And if you want to see me discuss all the brand new water support cards that were just revealed, go ahead and click on this link here and check out that video. And please remember to subscribe if you haven't already, helps out a ton. Also drop a like and a comment if you haven't already done so. And yeah, thank you guys as always so much for watching. Winter Kills signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one. And of course, last but not least, a huge shout out goes to all of the YouTube members that support this channel, and a special thanks goes to our Divine level channel members, and they are Cadillacs84 and Mr. Pony Stark. As always, thank you guys again so much for your continued and very generous support of the channel.